Hi, I'm Jeff. This is Tropical Plants at 53 degrees north. So today we're looking at the Dipladenia sanderi, more correctly known as the Mandevilla sanderi. So you can just see it up there, that lovely red. Just try and get my, it's really hard doing this in a camera. Try and get my finger up there pointing to that lovely red flower. Now, there, of course, there it is, lovely red flower. And one of the main problems with this plant is that it's really tricky to get the watering just right. Now, with the right perspective, you might really start to think, well, it's not the watering that's the issue, it's the pot, it's the media, and it's how well drained it is. And because I had a few issues with overwatering over time, because I've had this a couple of years now, the pot gets more and more congested with roots, and it really needs a repot and some more drainage adding to it, so that I don't have that issue with the pot just staying wet for too long, too wet for too long. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to try and set it up so that you can see what's going on. It's in a really tricky position. The plant is about 3 or 4 meters long, and I'm getting lots of yellow leaves, much more than I would do for like the natural leaf loss that you get during late winter and spring. So I'll set you up and you can watch what happens. Let's jump in. Okay, so this is going to be a really awkward angle, and I'm going to have to turn away from the camera and go in front of it a little bit. But we'll see what happens, we'll see if we can do it. So that's the situation we've got at the moment over here. I've got the pot raised up because obviously when the water does drain through, they really don't want to be sitting in any water, and that would be definitely a cause of yellowing leaves. Of course, if you underwater it as well, that will also be a cause of yellowing leaves, along with a whole host of other issues, nutrients, light, temperature and so on. I think I've got all the others right, bearing in mind that I have had it for a couple of years and it's absolutely thrived, but only this year, it's May now, early May, and only this year have we had this issue of yellowing leaves. So I think I know what's going on. So I've got my little moisture meter here. It looks very, very dry on the surface, and I've not watered it for a few days. I would normally be watering it looking at that surface, but as I put my moisture meter in, it is right in the middle, so it's not exactly wet. It was the other day. At the moment it's right in the centre, which tells me that it's moist, so it still doesn't really want to water. It also tells me that that media just isn't drying out quickly enough. Now, it's not like an orchid in that I don't really want to take it off, not least of which I would have to completely prune it down. I don't want to lose all that top growth. So what I'm going to do is, rather than like take all the media out, I'm going to pot it up into a larger pot, and then I'm going to surround that pot with more of a well-draining media. So I'll just show you what I'm going to try here as a media. So the recommendation is like a multi-purpose compost, something like a John Innes number 2, or more likely a number 3, along with some kind of drainage like sharp sand or grit. Now, I haven't got sharp sand, I have got multi-purpose compost, but I've decided to use some of this coir. So this is coir made by Canna, and I know it's been treated to get rid of all the salts and get rid of all the other problems that you can get with coir. I've got the grit underneath there, and I've also added some charcoal, just really to keep it fresh and to make sure that it's not going to stay wet for too long, because I know that that is a problem at the moment with the roots that's in that pot. It's very, very congested. So I'll give all that a mix up. I could really have done with a little bit more in terms of grit, but I've got what I've got. That's all I've got. It's better than what's in there now, and I'm hoping that over time the new roots will escape from that really tight root ball and move into this media, which is a lot more well drained, and hopefully it will give it that extra boost of life that it's been looking for this last few months. Okay, now for the really tricky bit. Now, this moisture meter has been sitting in there for about 5-10 minutes, and it's still registering as very moist, so that tells me what the issue has been. I've been giving it too much water. I've been basing it on the fact that this top looked quite dry. I've been leaving it a couple of days like that, and then I've been giving it a load of water. Now, that's worked up until this year, but obviously this pot has got so kind of congested with roots that it's just not letting that water drain out anymore. This is only my opinion, actually. It's only my theory, but I guess we'll see. You know, this is what it's like with plants. You try things, you come up with some kind of plan and see if it works. I've been in this position before with it in the past, so hopefully this is going to work. And I know, of course, it's been in that pot for a couple of years now. So we'll see if we can do this. It's not going to be easy because obviously I'm leaning at a funny angle. So I'll take that out of there. And let's see if we can knock it out of the pot. I think we better take this stake out first. That's going to cause a problem. I can tell actually by squeezing the pot how really tightly compacted it is. Okay, so I had some stones at the bottom of there, but for whatever reason it's not allowing the water to drain through. So let's have a good look. There's nothing wrong with the root ball. It doesn't actually look wet, even though the moisture meter said it was. It looks healthy enough to me. Maybe this wasn't the issue, but I think it will definitely benefit from a repot anyway. So just rough up a few of those roots, just so that they will try and escape into the new media. Now you can see there, look at the size of that big fleshy root there, big thick root. Whether my theory about it being too wet for too long is true or not, we're going to have to wait and see. Obviously the moisture meter is detecting a lot of moisture in the middle of the pot, so we'll just have to see whether it's too much. I still think it is, because they are really sensitive to moisture. Now, tricky bit. So we've got a bigger pot here, big holes in the bottom of this one, and I've put some drainage in the bottom just in the form of crockery. So I'm going to put a little bit of coir in there just to cover that crockery. And let's see if we can somehow repot it. Not easy. So I've gone up enough to give like perhaps 1.5 centimeters of clearance around the side. This is the most awkward repot ever. And I may well speed this bit up. Right, okay, now the issue is always, especially with a pot like this, making sure it goes down the side. So by giving it a good tap at the side, you usually manage to get it to drop down the sides. Otherwise, when you come and repot it again in however long that is, you usually find that there's great big gaps where you've not managed to get the media down. So it's still important for me anyway to make sure that I raise it up a little bit so that I know that it's going to be draining through. My issue here is that I could well block the holes with this, and that's certainly something I don't want. So I'm going to have to come up with some solution to raise it up without it being completely covered. For now, that's what I'm going to do, like that. But I think at some point I'm going to have to come up with some idea so that it doesn't block those holes up, because that's the last thing I want. Maybe even just put it a little bit to the side like that so I know that it's going to drain. It offends my sense of everything being perfect, but you know, it's a case of just doing what you can at the time. So I am actually going to give that a water now, and then I'll keep an eye on things. I'll keep using the moisture meter and try and make sure that I don't give it too much water and see what happens. Will I still keep getting the yellow leaves? The jury's out. I'll give an update on it when I know a little bit more in a month or two. So I hope you enjoyed that video, the most awkward repotting video in the history of YouTube. So we will keep a close eye on that, and I'll keep you all updated to see whether that was indeed the issue. So that's it for now. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.